Hello, my name's Elizabeth Black, and during this course I've worked both for the OAR Communications Unit and the Web Services Unit. I've really enjoyed this course, and one of the most interesting discussions we've had was one about what constitutes leadership. I want to take this 10 minutes to revisit some of the concepts we explored, and to draw some parallels between those capabilities we identified and authentic expression of leadership skills through action. To do this, we're going to draw on the model of an under-recognised leadership team and see how they put these skills into action. When we first discussed what constituted leadership, a lot of positive terms were mentioned. Then there was a summary of what a leader is, and then we were pointed to a new way of seeing by Genevieve, who defined a leader not in terms of attributes, but in terms of capabilities. Remember this quote? A leader harnesses resources and motivates people to achieve an agreed goal.
It's 106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Jake and Elwood Blues harnessed resources, motivated people, and achieved their goal through a combination of techniques, some more ethical than others. And for anyone who's not sure, Jake is the one on the right. The Blues Brothers needed to identify and harness staff, equipment, and space. They had to motivate musicians, suppliers, and their ex-booking agent Maury, and they had to achieve their goal of getting the band back together to raise $5,000 to pay the tax assessment for St. Helen of the Blessed Shroud Orphanage in downtown Chicago.
It's got a cop motor, a 440 cubic inch plant. It's got cop tires, cop suspension, cop shocks. There's a model made before catalytic converters, so it'll run good on regular gas. What do you say? Is it the new Bluesmobile or what?
The quote you've just heard is a great example of something all good leaders do in order to harness those resources. They audit them. Before you can deploy your resources effectively, whether they be staff, budget, or a 1974 Dodge Monaco sedan, you need to know what they are. This might involve skills audits of your staff, a review of IT or telephony needs. For me, doing an OH&S audit of my team's workstations identified that even though we had much of what we needed, there were gaps that I could address. For Jake and Elwood, the gaps they had to address were acquiring musicians, instruments, a venue to play in, and a crowd to attend. And to acquire them, they had to motivate people.
If you say no, Elwood and I will come here for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day of the week.
The first people the Blues Brothers used their impressive motivation skills on were the band. They used different motivation techniques depending on the band member, though, showing their emotional intelligence. With some band members, reminding them of how well they performed together was enough to begin. They worked out what they would need to get buy-in. Murph and Magic Tones would only come along if all the band was together, which was a challenge, as Mr. Fabulous was working as a high-class maitre d'. And Matt Guitar Murphy had opened a soul food restaurant with his indomitable partner, Aretha Franklin. In the end, Aretha actually reinforces the motivating force of freedom that the brothers offer Matt, and Mr. Fabulous is moved by what's called away from motivation after Jake and Elwood visit him at Chez Paul. It's not just the musicians that need motivation, though.
Naturally, and as usual, I gotta take an IOU.
The band also needed instruments and somewhere to play. When they visit Ray's Music Exchange, it's trust which motivates Ray to give the band their instruments on credit. He knows the boys will do their best to pay him back.
Say, how's Mrs. Sline? I might have some information she'd like to know.
With Maury, it's fear of what Jake might tell Mrs. Sline, an approach I wouldn't necessarily recommend. So you can see that in your team you'll have a variety of people, and each of them will respond to different motivation strategies. The university provides several tools which can help with awards and scholarships and the benefits offered by the EBA. Sometimes really simple things work. One of my most autonomous and professional team members was really strongly motivated by having flexibility to complete her honours year while working. I was comfortable with her fitting in her hours whenever it suited her, and she appreciated the benefits of having a flexible job, paying reasonable money, on campus. She was also really strongly motivated by excellence, which is a great thing to have in a team member and something which you can't always choose or control. I just got lucky with that, and the key is to recognise it and reward it. Appeal to your staff motivation and talk to your team about what would work for them. Don't think that they'll necessarily bring it up with you. Remember, if you have introverts in your team, they may wait to be asked. The Blues Brothers also needed to motivate an audience to attend their show, and they were able to get 5,000 people to do that, partly by driving around spruiking their show with a loudspeaker. They had help too from the Reverend Cleophas, from Ray, and from orphans handing out show bills. What motivated all these people to support the band?
We're on a mission from God.
Jake and Elwood really believed in what they were doing, and that belief and enthusiasm were infectious. They didn't go into too much detail with people, sticking to big picture ideas and their overarching statement. Talking about things in big picture terms can help to achieve your goal because there is less to disagree with. While not everyone would want to raise money for an orphanage, everyone could see the value in getting the band back together. And for relaxed-looking guys, the Blues Brothers were really Type X leaders who didn't invite input into their plans at all. But with limited time frames and a howitzer, exploding building, police and corrections officer pursuit, Illinois Nazis and the good old boys to contend with, this leadership style was probably the more effective one. In the end, the money the boys paid the tax assessment with came not from that concert, but from an advance on a recording contract from an executive who happened to be at the concert. But without the concert, that wouldn't have happened, and the concert wouldn't have happened without the innovative ways in which resources were harnessed and people motivated toward the goal of getting the band back together. That smaller goal achieved the larger goal, just as Jake had anticipated, and, at least for the orphans, there was a happy ending. Are we on a mission from God? How much do we believe in our goals? Through my mentoring project this year, I've been exploring my own goals and how they align with my values. The outcome of the project is the goal of becoming an authentic leader. It is vital to me that my mission is reflective of my nature as an individual, and as an individual, I want to make things as good as they can be in those areas in which I have influence. My mentor has helped me to develop some strategies towards this goal, and I'm working hard on moving in that direction. As well as being definitive of good leadership, harnessing resources and motivating people are also indicative of good managers. Jake and Elwood are authentic leaders working towards something they believe in by deploying those competencies so ably defined by Genevieve. I'd like to close by paraphrasing leadership author Marcus Buckingham with an adjunct description to that of Genevieve's, which I think could be confidently applied to the Blues Brothers and hopefully to us here, if not today, at least sometime. A leader is someone who helps people feel confident and positive about what is to come. Thank you.